Heads up, this video has been sponsored by EA. That's 2. That's 3. Oh. Okay. One more. Yeah, woo! Okay, I hold my hands up, I admit it. It's been about a year since I played this game on launch, and I did a couple videos and I did a couple streams, but it didn't really capture me. And I think that on the whole, 2042 has had quite a complex and difficult year. It launched in this weird kind of in-between superposition of not really a game that felt purely like a Battlefield game, but then also not really like a game that would exclusively attract the sort of Call of Duty fan base, or just generic players from other franchises, other IPs, other communities that might be interested in trying a Battlefield game out for the first time. Like, it was in the middle, and so, in my opinion, it struggled to do both. And this is coming from someone that is sponsored by EA in this video. Like, I think that they recognize just as much as we do that it's had a really difficult year. Like, I was doing a little bit of research before this video because there's a free trial coming up, and it's also coming to Game Pass. And this one article that mentions that literally starts with EA is bringing its troubled first-person shooter to Xbox Game Pass and giving out free play trials. So it's no secret, it's been a bumpy road, but they've just released an update for Season 3 of the game. They've clearly been working hard at it all year, and it's in a significantly better place than it was on launch. And it's interesting because we're in a world right now where Activision and Microsoft and Sony are embroiled in this company acquisition, lawsuit, and takeover and all sorts of stuff going on there. Simultaneously, the new COD is selling like hotcakes. It's doing really well. And so the sort of backdrop of what Battlefield is fighting against to claim its place in the industry is even more frenetic and kind of chaotic than usual. So they've got to prove themselves. And I really think that the devs have been trying their absolute hardest to do that over the last couple of months. Like, a lot of the complaints I had with 2042 when it first came out is that it was kind of in that middle ground place, like I mentioned. But on top of that, it just didn't feel like Battlefield. Like, it didn't feel like they'd necessarily evolved Battlefield's formula to be more accessible to new players, but rather they'd evolved it a little bit away from what felt like that core kind of Battlefield feeling of fun. And instead, the flow was a bit weird. I was getting shot from all directions at all times. I felt a little bit aimless. And again, this is coming from someone that's sponsored by EA in this video, but the state it was in 12 months ago is so drastically different to the state that it's in now that I think that spending a little time kind of acknowledging those downsides is really worth doing. I jumped into Season 3. I didn't get any kind of like early access or anything. I just jumped in with everyone else on this new map. And my God, it is so much fun. I've actually been having such a good time because it feels like a big team battle, like the thing that you can only get in Battlefield, that enormous player count on this grand, large scale map with two enormous teams fighting against each other, combined with beautiful graphics, combined with all these vehicles flying overhead and driving through and blowing up and all this cool stuff. And you just feel like you're in the perfect video game war. Like, it's so cool. And that's on top of a load of other things from launch being fixed. Like, just the movement feels better right now to me. It feels like the clarity has improved as well. Like, I feel like on launch, there was a lot of just like stuff around. So I'd constantly be like, what am I looking at? Like, I need my spectacles. But certainly on this map, the visual clarity is fantastic. You do still get detail. Like, in the distance, you've got these like AA guns firing out and there's like storm in the distance. And sometimes the storm is on the map. And it's really cool. But I also feel like I can see. And it's weird because like it's a really open map, but there's still loads of cover. There's still loads of places to flank. There's genuine ways to do that without it being the most obvious flank in the world. Like, there's variation to it. You can get into these interesting little situations. Like, for example, in one game I played, I kept putting my respawn beacon down in the vents of this one building and just dropping in, getting like 3 kills, dying, and then just doing it again because it was fun. And that sort of variation, like that happening in one game, and then in another game, I'm piloting a chopper or I'm jumping into someone else's chopper. In one match I played, I was just on the ground. Someone in my team was like, how is this guy at the top of the leaderboard? Like, what are they doing? And they responded saying, oh, I'm just flying overhead. Do you want to join? Like, stuff like that is so cool. And so it's so nice to see it flourishing in this way now, given the other context that I mentioned, the past 12 months and the chaos of the industry around it. And it's not just me that feels this way. Like, I jumped into Broken Machines stream at one point and just had a little chat with him about how he was feeling too. He plays a lot of Battlefield. And I've talked to one or two other folks that are like big Battlefield fans that I know, and they all seem to be saying the same thing, which is that the game is going in a really positive direction. Still has flaws, don't get me wrong, but it feels like in the last couple of months, the team have really locked in on what the Battlefield community wants and needs and seems to be starting to deliver on that. And that's really exciting. And that's worth talking about and is worth celebrating because ultimately, as much as I'm absolutely loving Modern Warfare 2 right now, there is just this feeling when you like hop in a vehicle in this game and you're driving over this beautiful like grassy plain, blue sky above you, and then suddenly like a vehicle comes and does a strafe run and it crashes into a building and blows up, and then you hop out the vehicle and you plow through like 30 enemies, it feels like, at least. Like, it's just that old kind of Battlefield style, and I really appreciate that they've managed to actually get to that point. It's just good to see the improvement because this will push all the other games in the industry to do better. And I love a redemption story, man. I love like a David versus Goliath type situation where it really started out rocky, but they've persevered. They haven't just given up, and they are now finding that fun, that kind of dynamic thing that we need in order to actually kind of get hooked on the game again. In terms of individual new elements this season, you've got a new operator called Zane. He heals when he gets a kill, so if you're an aggressive rusher, it's an incredible class to play. I've been having a really good time with him. He also has this airburst cannon thing, but like, I'm just not interested in that personally. I don't really use it. And you also have this railgun, which I've been having so much fun with. It's got variations, so you can either snipe with it, or you can use it as a burst, or just full auto. And it's a bit weird to use. Like, it's a bit funky because you have to charge up no matter what mode you're in, but getting headshots with this, oh, it is so satisfying. It's one hit kill. It doesn't matter what range you're at. If you hit them in the head, they die. And then when you swap to full auto, you still do have that wind up, but it just lasers people. And it doesn't matter if there's like people behind other people because this thing's a freaking railgun, dude. Like, it's just gonna laser through all of them. So that kind of combination, like jumping in with Zane as opposed to any of the kind of like launch operators, and then also running around with this railgun, has just, it's been fresh. So I guess the question for me is, does this mean there is now a thorn in the side of Call of Duty where Battlefield is gonna have a little bit of a resurgence? Because it's actually been mentioned in some of the Microsoft versus Sony lawsuits right now, just because it is the competitor to COD. Like, there is nothing else really in that space. And seeing as season 3 is so successful, it wouldn't surprise me if it starts really being reintroduced back into the conversation now, because they are really taking positive steps. Obviously, it's different if you're talking like Battlefield 2042 multiplayer, like Conquest or whatever, compared to like a Warzone. Like, I get they're different things, but it's just the fact that Battlefield's not out of the fight and has delivered something here that's such a good step that makes me think that, you know, maybe COD's gonna have some really serious competition over the next 12 months. I don't know. I would love to see that because it will mean that the entire industry is more fun for the player. That's what I'm here for, just to have a good time playing video games. But we'll have to wait and see. Like, it remains to be seen for now. However, if you don't want to take my word for it, there is a free trial coming up, right? So on December 1st, if you want to jump into the game and just see if what I'm saying is true at all or not, then that's the day for it. And what I'll do, just to make things easy for us all probably, is I'll stream the day it starts and I'll invite like a bunch of you guys into my squad or something. And that way it'll be really easy for you to like find the link, how you get the free trial, and we can go from there. But it's also like coming to Game Pass and all that cool stuff. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can tap into the game, even if you're not ready to necessarily fully buy it right now. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you want to see more Battlefield on the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.